Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video I'm going to be doing the mid-year book freakout tag. This is actually the very first time that I've done the mid-year book freakout tag. I started my channel in August last year and I felt like it was a little bit too late to be doing the mid-year tag, but this is one of my favourite videos to watch on the whole of BookTube, so I'm really excited to be doing it and hopefully it all goes okay. I will leave the original creators linked in the description, but there are, I think, 15 questions. Not gonna lie, I did really struggle to narrow my answers down for a lot of these questions because there are a lot of books that I've read this year that I really want to talk about, and so I am sorry, a few of the questions I do have a few answers for, but yeah, I can't help it, I'm just indecisive. So question number one is, what is the best book that you've read so far this year? And for this I decided to give 3 answers because I thought it might be quite cool to talk about the first book that I gave 5 stars this year, and then the last book that I gave 5 stars, and then a series where I gave every single book 5 stars. So the first book I gave 5 stars this year was Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, and this is a dark academia mystery novel. It's the first book in a series, but I don't know when the next book is going to be released, and I really enjoyed this book. I had a feeling that I would because I really liked the Grishaverse by Leigh Bardugo, even though Ninth House is very different because it's set in our world and it follows a woman called Alex Stern who's accepted as a student at Yale University, but part of the condition of her acceptance is that she has to monitor these different secret societies that can use different types of magic, and then a girl in the local town is found murdered and Alex has to investigate to see whether one of the secret societies is responsible. I do love a good mystery, and this was definitely a good mystery. It had a really slow build up, which I really liked, and I actually recommended this to my cousin, and I can remember her messaging me saying, I don't understand what is going on. And it is one of those books where you just have to give it a little bit of time before everything does start to come together. But I am really excited for the next book in this series because the way that this book ended, I have a lot of questions and I'm really excited to see how it continues. So yeah, really enjoyed the atmosphere and the mystery in this one. I will say that if you're thinking of reading this, then do check the trigger warnings beforehand because there are a lot and some of them are quite serious and it is very dark. Next I want to talk about my favourite series of the year so far, and I gave every single book in this series 5 stars. It was one of those series where I started it, I read the first book, and then immediately I had to read the second book, and then I finished the second book and immediately I had to read the next book, and it was everything that I love about fantasy. But the series I'm talking about is the Daevabad trilogy by S.A. Chakraborty. I think what I loved most about this book was the world building and the politics and also the character development over the course of the series. So you're following this main character Nari who lives in Egypt, I think it's a couple of 100 years ago, and she works as a con artist, and one day she's performing this con when she accidentally summons a Jinn warrior who sweeps her away on this magical journey to the city of Brass, which is the home of the Jinn. You also follow another perspective of the Prince of Daevabad, and it's through him that you learn about all of the different politics and the way that the different Jinn families work. I actually double-checked Core Pile, and Kingdom of Copper is officially my favourite book of the year, which is the second book in the trilogy because it's got the highest rating in Core Pile that I've given to a book this year. I gave it 9.57, which is the highest rating that I've given to a book so far this year. Finally, I wanted to mention the last book that I gave 5 stars, and that was The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. Oh my goodness, I absolutely loved this book, and it's one of those really frustrating situations where it's been on my TBR for a really long time, but I just kept putting it off because I was a little bit intimidated. It's quite a long book, but once I got into it, it actually flew by, and I finished this in less than a week, I think it was. But yeah, my favourite thing about this book was definitely the magic system, because the magic system in this world is based around metal. So there are people in this world that can use allomancy, and it basically means that they ingest metal and it gives them different magical abilities. I'm really hoping that I get round to finishing this series soon, hopefully definitely by the end of the year. And I have heard that the second book is a lot slower but also a lot more political, so I'm really intrigued about that because I do love political fantasies. And then I've also heard a lot of people talking about how the third book is amazing, and I've tried to avoid looking at too many reviews because I don't want to accidentally see spoilers. But yeah, if you love fantasy and you haven't read this yet, then I would 100% recommend it. Okay, so question number 2 is, what is the best sequel that you've read so far this year? And for this, I really struggled because I've already mentioned The Kingdom of Copper. That was officially the best sequel that I've read so far this year. But another sequel that I did actually really enjoy was Kingdom of Flesh and Fire by Jennifer L. Armentrout, which is the sequel to From Blood and Ash. This is a fantasy romance series that follows a young woman called Poppy, who is the Maiden. So within this society, she is very heavily guarded and she's very heavily protected because she's waiting for her ascension. So certain people within this world go through something called an ascension, which you do learn what it is, but you don't know that at the start of book 1, so I'm not going to tell you because of spoilers. But Poppy's a bit of a rebel, and so when she's assigned a new guard called Hawk, yeah, there's stuff that happens, and I don't want to go too much into it because I feel like it is one of those series where you really do have to learn as you go along, and part of the enjoyment does come from learning about this world. I will say that even though I really enjoyed A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, I didn't love Crown of Gilded Bones as much. I think I gave that like a 3.5. I might have given it a 4 actually at the time, because it was still a fun book to read, and this series in general is very addictive. But yeah, Crown of Gilded Bones wasn't my favourite, and I am a little nervous about how the rest of the series is going to go, because my one criticism of Crown of Gilded Bones and of this series in general is that it is very info dumpy. But I think I will still continue reading it because I do really love the characters. Another sequel I did quickly want to mention is The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang. So this is the sequel to the Poppy War, and I did enjoy the Poppy War. I think I gave it a 3.5 stars. I did have a few issues with it though. However, all of the issues that I had with the Poppy War, I didn't have with the Dragon Republic, and I am really excited to read The Burning God. This is a military fantasy where certain events within the books are inspired by actual Chinese history, and it follows a girl called Rin, and you're basically following her as she learns how to become a soldier. So the first book has this magic school setting, and then the book does deviate quite suddenly, and there's much more of a focus on war. It is very dark in places. I'm pretty sure actually it's described as a grim dark adult fantasy. So if you are thinking of reading this, then I would recommend checking the trigger warnings. Question number 3 is a new release that you haven't got around to reading yet. And for this, I want to go for One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston, because I really enjoyed the author's other book, Red, White and Royal Blue. And I have heard really good reviews for this one too. So this is another contemporary romance, but with a sci-fi twist, because it follows a woman called August, I think is her name, who has a crush on this woman that she sees every day on the tube, or is it called the subway in New York? But then she learns that this woman is displaced in time from the 1970s. So really hoping that I get around to this before the end of the year. Another book that I would like to get around to is the final revival of Opal and Nev, which I believe is about a young woman who is discovered by a singer and they make music together. I have heard it compared to Daisy Jones and the Six. I don't know if that's right, obviously, because I haven't read the book yet, but I've heard that there's a timeline in the past and in the present day, and it's basically about these characters, and it sounds really interesting. I did like Daisy Jones and the Six. I didn't love it as much as other people seem to. When I saw this compared to Daisy Jones, I thought I'd really like to give it a go, because I did like the format of Daisy Jones, if that makes sense. Question number 4 is, what is your most anticipated release for the second half of the year? And for this, I have a few. Again, are we surprised? So Survive the Night by Riley Sager, which is a thriller. I really enjoyed 2 of Riley Sager's other books when I read them last year. I gave them both 5 stars, and so I'm really hoping that this is going to also be a 5 stars. Also really excited for The Heart Principle by Helen Huang, which is the 3rd book in the Kiss Quotient series. I really enjoyed the first 2 books in this series, and I've heard that this follows a side character from the first two books, who was one of my favourite characters from the series, so I'm really excited that they are getting their own story. Question number 5 is, what is your most disappointing book of the year? For this, I decided to go for King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. I think this is my lowest book of the year that I've rated so far. I was so disappointed by this book because I love the Grishaverse by Leigh Bardugo. I read the Grisha trilogy and the Six of Crows duology last year, and I really enjoyed them. I always say that the Grishaverse is what got me back into reading fantasy, and so I was so excited to read this book, and it's so pretty as well, but I really didn't enjoy it. I actually did a whole reading vlog where I read both King of Scars and Rule of Wolves. If you want to check it out, then I will leave it linked in the description, but it does have spoilers, so if you haven't read either King of Scars or Rule of Wolves, then you might not want to watch it. But my main issue with this book was that it felt very disjointed. So there's two separate storylines throughout the book, and they don't really connect, and the plot felt a little bit all over the place, and there were certain sections in the middle where I was just bored, and I never expected that, not from a Leigh Bardugo book. And it is kind of ironic that The Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo is one of my favourite books of the year, and this is definitely one of my least favourites. Question number 6 is, what is your biggest surprise of the year? So one of my biggest surprises of the year was definitely Watch Her Fall by Erin Kelly. I had an arc of this through NetGalley, and obviously I expected to enjoy it, but because I had the arc, I hadn't seen any reviews for it really, and so I didn't have any expectations going in, but I ended up really enjoying it. It's a very dark and atmospheric thriller that centres around a ballet school, and I really loved the atmosphere and how there were so many twists that I did not see coming. And so if you do like dark and atmospheric thrillers, then I would definitely recommend this one. Another book that really surprised me was The Bone Shard Daughter by Andrea Stewart. Again, I think the main reason I was really surprised by this was because I'd seen a few reviews, but not many. And actually, once I got into it, I found the world building so interesting. And again, it went in a few directions that I really wasn't expecting, and I'm really excited for the sequel. I think it comes out later this year. The magic system was also really interesting because it's based around bone shard magic. So the emperor of this world can use bone shards to create these constructs, and they're kind of like animal creatures, and they basically help to run this world. And you're following the emperor's daughter and a few other perspectives around this world, and just the way that it all fit together I thought was really clever. Question number 7 is favourite new author, so either debut or new to you. I really struggled with this question because there's a few authors that I've read from this year that I think have the potential to become new favourite authors, but I feel like I still need to read more of their books before I make that decision. Brandon Sanderson definitely has the potential to become a new favourite author because I really liked his writing style. Also, V. Schwab, I think, has some potential because I read A Darker Shade of Magic earlier this year, and I also read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and again, I did really like her writing. S.A. Chakraborty as well, I think, has the potential to become a new favourite author because I did really love the Daevabad trilogy. I think she might actually be working on a new book at the moment, and so when that comes out, I'm definitely going to want to read it. Next question is, who is your newest fictional crush? The only character I could really think of for this question was Kieran from the Blunt Ash series because he's just so funny. He has the most amazing sense of humour. It's like really dry and just sarcastic, and every time he's on the page it just makes me laugh. Question number 9 is, who is your newest favourite character? I want to be really careful how I answer this question because there's a character in the Daevabad trilogy that I'm not going to mention by name because I don't want to accidentally give spoilers, but I thought their character development over the course of the series was done really well, and I love it when an author can make me question my feelings about a character because they're doing stuff that is really frustrating, but at the same time I can 100% understand why they are doing things that way, even though I might not agree with what they're doing. I also really liked both Vin and Calcia in The Final Empire, and I especially liked their dynamic and their student-teacher relationship. I thought that that was done really well. Question number 10 is a book that made you cry. The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson made me sob, and I wasn't expecting it, but just the way that Brandon Sanderson made me care about these characters, Oh, it was, yeah, it was a lot. Another book actually that really made me cry was A Man Called Uwe by Frederick Backman. Oh my goodness, this book. Like, everyone told me that it was really sad and that it would probably tug at my heartstrings, but I thought, no, I'll be fine. I had even seen a spoiler for this book before I went into it, and I still cried. Another similar book actually that made me cry was All the Lonely People by Mike Gale. I think those are the three books that made me cry this year, but All the Lonely People, oh my goodness, again, like, I wasn't expecting it to be so emotional, but any of those books, if you're looking for a good cry, I would recommend them. Don't think I actually explained what those books are about, but A Man Called Uwe is about a man called Uwe who lives a very lonely life, and he's seen as being very grumpy, but over the course of the book you see how he does eventually start to melt, and you start to see why he is the way that he is. And then All the Lonely People again is about an older man who is also very lonely. His daughter lives in Australia and he lies to his daughter about what his life is like. He tells her that everything is fine and that he has loads of friends, and then when his daughter surprises him by saying that she's going to come to visit, he has to start making friends so that when she comes over, she doesn't feel like she has to look after him. I actually think that if you liked A Man Called Uwe, then you would potentially really enjoy All the Lonely People, and vice versa as well, because they are kind of similar, but also very different in terms of the characters. Question number 11 is a book that made you happy. For this, I want to go for Actuate Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert. I loved this book so much. I gave it 5 stars, and I think the main reason that I loved this book so much is because it's just so funny. It's a contemporary romance, and Talia Hibbert is a British author, and you can definitely see in her books that they have that great British sense of humour. I also really loved the relationship between the two main characters and how it built up over the course of the book. Talia Hibbert knows how to write good chemistry between characters, and have I mentioned this is the 3rd book in a series? Each book follows a different sister and their relationship, and I think that of the trilogy, Danny Brown is still my favourite sister, but Eve Brown, like Actuate Eve Brown I should say, is my favourite book as a whole. I actually buddy read this with Helen from Helen's Bookhaven, and I really enjoyed buddy reading it because we were both really enjoying it, and so obviously we were talking about it as we were going along, and it was nice to have someone that I could just gush at and be like, I love this book. So yeah, if you are looking for a book that's going to make you happy, then I would definitely recommend this series. Question number 12 is, what is the most beautiful book you bought this year? This was actually a really easy question to answer because I haven't bought many books this year. Well, not physical books. I have a problem where I buy too many Kindle books and then I never buy books like in real life. Does that even make sense? I don't have a lot of storage space in my house, and so I don't buy many physical books, but I did decide to treat myself this year to Rule of Wolves by Leigh Bardugo, and I don't know how well this is going to show up on camera, but this book is absolutely stunning, and there's a beautiful design as well under the dust jacket, where you've got, is it like stenciling, I guess? It's like foil, but oh my goodness, it is just so beautiful. And I can remember when it arrived, even though I didn't like King of Scars, I did enjoy this a lot more. And I think that seeing the book after it arrived and seeing how beautiful it was made me a lot more excited to actually read it. Question number 13 is, what book do you need to read by the end of this year? So I actually made a video at the start of this year with 10 series that I really want to start in 2021. And so far, I don't actually know how many have started. I want to say maybe 3 or 4, so I've still got a few more that I need to tick off my list. Also, I do really want to try and finish some of the series that I've started this year, but there have been a lot of series that I've started so far this year, and I think I've only finished 5. I think I've definitely started more series than I have finished, and I would like to change that before the end of the year. Question number 14 is, what is your favourite video that you've done this year? I don't actually know, because I am really proud of all of the TBR videos that I've done with my TBR Cluedo, because those videos honestly are just so much fun to film, and people also seem to really enjoy them, which is what you want as a booktuber. You want to feel like you put an effort into making videos and people are also enjoying watching them. I've also done quite a lot of reading vlogs this year that I've been proud of, and I really enjoyed actually filming my 48-hour bookoplathon reading vlog, which was was it March? I feel like it was March or April, but that whole weekend was just so much fun because there were so many live shows happening for the readathon, and I actually booked the Monday off work so that I could recover afterwards because I didn't get a lot of sleep that weekend because it was a 48-hour readathon. I did get a little bit of sleep, but I read so many great books during that readathon, and it was just really nice because there was just that amazing community feeling. Question number 15 is, who are your favourite book community members? I don't feel like I can answer this question because I know what will happen. I'll start giving names and then I'll get to edit this video and I'll be thinking, oh, you forgot someone, and then I'll feel really, really bad. So I'm not going to name any people in particular, but just in general, everyone who watches my videos, I really, really appreciate it. And especially everyone who comments and who, you know, like messages me on Instagram or Twitter, and just in general, I love this community so much. And I'm honestly so glad that I actually started my channel in the first place. I don't know if I've really talked about this, but it took a lot for me to film my very first YouTube video. I went through a bit of a rough time last year and also the year before, and so yeah, it took a long time for me to actually feel comfortable sitting in front of a camera and actually talking to the camera. It all just makes it worthwhile, and I love it when people message me to say that they picked up a book because I've recommended it, and it just, I don't know, it just kind of blows my mind a little bit. I feel like I went off on a bit of a tangent there and I can't remember what I was saying, but yeah, basically, if you're watching this video, then you are one of my favourite book community members. But yeah, I think that does bring me to the end of the video, so thanks for watching if you've made it this far. Let me know in the comments if you've done the mid-year book freakout tag, and let me know what some of your answers would be for these questions. And yeah, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and click subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next time. Bye.